I know this is pretty late. We're all talking about how hot dolls are and dresses. I need a minute, guys. But fairly recently, I was provided with 3 videos about GFL2's skin gacha. As requested, I reacted to these on my stream. These aren't released as separate videos because, frankly, I don't think they're particularly good videos. The majority of the time, I was just mostly annoyed. But the one thing I realized about these videos were these 3 creators had no actual clue what happened when the Girls Frontline 2 skin gacha first dropped on the CN servers. Yet they felt compelled to make videos about their opinion on the drama behind it. Drama they weren't even part of. I should have made this video sooner, but I'll be honest, it was hard for me to care that much about these opinions, especially when they're ultimately just opinions. But there's 2 reasons why I ultimately decided to do this. First, I haven't made Girls Frontline content in a while. Sorry, I've just been enjoying Chaos or Nightmare way too much. Secondly, this reminds me a lot of the Raymond situation where players literally believed the only reason why Chinese players were mad was because of NTR, when Raymond was more like a representation of how poor the game's story was across the board. I've actually read the initial Diane event before it was rewritten. There was no actual NTR involved, but the writing was garbage. Now, granted, yes, there was a subset of Chinese bros who actually took the NTR thing seriously. They even left Girls Frontline 2 for Snowbreak. But as I just said, that is a subset of the community, not the majority. But since so much is lost in translation, us here in the West only hear about the most absurd accusations, and therefore a false narrative is spread. The big problem here is these false narratives tend to severely undermine what happened, and potentially give the idea that we're complacent to predatory practices. The gacha community as a whole is already seen as gambling addicts spending thousands of dollars purely for sentimental value. By that I mean gooner bait. No one should be okay with any gacha model whatsoever, yet here we are playing these games, if only because we enjoy the game itself and the gacha system is like that elephant in the room that we pretend is not there. As a person who plays standalone real games, there will always be a clear difference in quality between that and a game that holds characters hostage through a gacha model. But I digress. I just like to dig for the truth instead of parroting whatever meme comes my way. So I get annoyed when I notice there's a severe lack of research in a video. It also just makes other countries look like they're completely and utterly unhinged when they're just like us. Girls Frontline 2 has a small community, and we've lost a great majority of our content creators over the past few months. It's not a coincidence that this happened after the skin gacha appeared. Some creators and websites even note that one of the reasons is indeed the skin gacha. While it's not the only reason, so many global-only players cherry-pick this. And like I said, it undermines how people actually feel and what actually happened. So this is the part where I name these 3 content creators I watched: Tuhu, Arikado, and Psyche. All 3 of them have more or less stated the gacha skin situation was overblown, while directly showing clear signs that they were not involved in the situation whatsoever, and didn't even bother to talk to anyone or at least do any research. I guess I should say right now, I don't have any personal beef with these creators. In fact, as a creator myself, I respect their hustle and I would like to talk to them even. I just really wish they actually looked into what happened instead of whatever it is they actually did. Out of the 3, I actually found Tuhu's to be the least offensive. In fact, it's the hardest to take seriously.
So, do what you feel is appropriate. Just don't get too triggered when the god of gacha calls you a fucking retard for it. Thanks for watching. Drop a like and a sub. Check out
Oh my god. I can't believe he's sticking with that name. Oh my god. Oh, God. I just don't want to take this guy seriously. Whenever he says that. But generally speaking, he actually agrees the gacha skin shouldn't exist and Mika deserved the backlash. But he doesn't believe people should have quit over it, since it's just a cosmetic. The most they should do is just not spend money on it. In a vacuum, this is an understandable take, and if that was all he said in his video, that would have been mostly harmless. but it also makes an assumption that people quit Grocery Line 2 only because of the gacha skin, when that couldn't be further from the case. Next is Arikado. His video is fine for the most part, until we get to the last 3 minutes of the video where he feels compelled to throw his 2 cents about the gacha skin drama. His take is actually kind of absurd, which is surprising to me. Long story short, he said the gacha skin was inevitable because Grocery Line 2 is so generous that if they didn't do it, they would risk going into end of service. And then he just generally got a lot of facts wrong and made a lot of assumptions over why people were mad.
Springfield's cafe uniform being free through a collection log reward system and the massive positive reception to it, as well as similar cases like the free Coalfiend skin, is proof that cosmetics are subjective and all the good skins being locked behind the gacha was just pure hogwash projection.
So this is incorrect. This part about Springfield is actually entirely incorrect. This is technically not free. This is based on a rebate system. And you have to get a number of points, a number of collection points in order to get this skin. And we did the math on this, and you're not getting this, like, unless you got every single thing from all the events. And a lot of people did skip. They did skip, like, weapon stuff. Unless you actually got all of that stuff, you're not getting this without buying for skins. So there is a catch to this. So saying it is entirely free is actually incorrect. You can eventually get it for free, but you would have had to know ahead of time that you needed to buy all the weapon skins. And you needed to get like a bunch of achievements. And by the way, when I talked about this, I was basing this off of Grocery Line 2 on the Chinese server. Keep in mind, Global got the prestige system much earlier than China did. So I've actually been reading on Twitter that even if you got every single free-to-play skin, you are not getting Springfield skin without spending money or waiting a very long time. So yes, it is still under a predatory system where the game pushes you to buy skins you may not care about if you really want Springfield's Barista skin. The reason why China wasn't up in arms about this in particular was because this came out at the same time as the gacha skin.
As well as similar cases like the free Coalfiend skin, is proof that cosmetics are subjective and all the good skins being locked behind the gacha was just pure hogwash projection.
I don't think anyone actually said that either. Like, literally, I don't think anyone actually said that all the good skins are locked behind a gacha. Yeah, I think the only thing that people actually complained about was the interactions being locked behind the gacha, which they were at the very beginning. We'll get into that in a little bit. Finally, we have Psyche, who I used to see as the gold standard for content creation for gacha games. But man, has he been doing everything in his power to look like he's rage baiting people. And this is no different. On his second channel, which is supposed to represent content that is more subjective, he couldn't help but mention Grocery Line 2 skin gacha, and said it wasn't a problem whatsoever.
I have to ask, what's the problem here? I can simply dismiss all the haters and say, it's just cosmetic. Just watch the cutscenes online or something. If that's the case, why did GFL2 kick up such a fuss about the $200 Klukai Gacha skin? I mean, Nikkei got away with it, Brown Dust 2 got away with it, Punishing Grey Raven got away with it. $60 seems tolerable enough for a skin, but raising that to over $100 is what crosses the line?
It's really no different than what Tu and Arikado said. And I'll say it again once more. It's not about the price itself, it's about the fact they didn't announce it ahead of time. It was basically 3 hours before they announced it, so basically everyone had to find out themselves, and there was no information whatsoever. So we literally have no idea what they're doing with the skin gacha. We had no idea what their plans were. We had no idea about anything at all. That's where the majority of the uproar came from. So yeah. Psyche is once again one of those people who just isn't part of the community, and he has no idea what he's talking about when it comes to that. He even stated that everything was for nothing, because the skin gacha remained as is with no changes whatsoever and people moved on. This is 100% false. This take was so bad that I couldn't even muster up the power to be mad about it.
To respond to the backlash at the time, what did Mika team do? Nothing. The skin gacha update still went forward. The pricing hasn't changed. And who knows, maybe they'll make this into a regular thing going forward, just like Nikkei has.
Wow. But that wasn't all he said. So he's just straight up wrong then. Yeah, he's just wrong. Ugh, Jesus Christ. I hate it when people get their opinion on something that they don't do research over. It's not that they did nothing. It's that they went ahead with the gacha skin, and honestly, sensible people weren't even looking for them to get rid of the gacha skin because they saw that as a pie in the sky, more or less, and that wasn't going to happen. What they wanted was more fair pricing and more communication and more everything else. And by the way, we did get that. So instead of just complaining about people spreading a false narrative, I'll instead tell you a little story. A story about how a skin gacha was revealed and why it drove the Chinese player base to boycott the game so hard that Mika was compelled to respond. So imagine, you're watching a Chinese live stream for Ghost Moonlight's anniversary. Corposant is freshly revealed, and Task Force Defy is making an official return. The highly anticipated dorm system is also revealed, and with it, there was a surprise reveal. The Klukai swimsuit skin, and with it came interactions. Very sensual interactions at that. Everyone had a very justified Gooner reaction, and their general response is, as soon as it comes out, I'm gonna swipe. Please, Mika, take my money. This patch is so awesome. But unknown to all of us, Mika left a little small teensy-weensy detail out. This detail was not revealed until 2 to 3 hours before the patch dropped, and it was in a very silent social media post. And you might have guessed it at this point. This is how we learned about the skin gacha. God help you if you didn't even bother going on social media so you don't get spoiled by enthusiastic data miners. Then you just had to learn by logging into the game. So research was quickly done over this newfound discovery. The banner lasts for 330 days. 6 outfit permits are given monthly by doing weekly quests and clearing the exchange shop. Therefore, 66 outfit permits are given for free within said time frame. 30 free pulls are given for free when the crew deck was open, so a total of 96 pulls were available for free to play. There are also free outfit permits in the crew deck system as you level up. So as long as you diligently kept working on your weekly and monthly tasks, you will eventually get Klukai's outfit for free. I need to quickly clear something up. I don't know who started this rumor, but Klukai's price was never $200. Kansai Dorito made a video over this where he broke down all the packs to buy to guarantee Klukai's skin, and it came out to $120. Nowhere near close to the rumored $200.
Okay guys, at the 11th hour, it has been made known to me that there are special value boxes from Mika that will help you save millions on your Klukai skin. Here they are, so let's do the math. You need 100 pulls to hard pitch. This box on the left here is 108 yuan. The one on the right that you can buy 4 times is 168 yuan. $1 is 7.2 yuan, so the boxes are $15 and 23.33 respectively. If you buy the $23 box 4 times, that's 80 skin gacha pulls for $93.32. If you add the $15 box, that's 95 pulls for $108.32. That's still not guaranteed though. So if we really wanted to guarantee, we'd have to resort to buying tokens. Since you can't use collapse pieces on the skin gacha, each pull is 120 tokens, so we need to get at least 600 tokens. The cheapest way to get 600 tokens is to either buy the $5 token pack twice, or get the monthly Kitchell contract twice, both costing $10 total. So if we use these mythical boxes bestowed to us by Mika, we save $11.68. 2 McCrispy chicken sandwiches and a drink.
But more importantly, it was quickly discovered that Andres' skin was part of the gacha, and only in the gacha. That's right. Andres' skin wasn't meant to be directly purchasable. You had to roll for it. And remember that macchiato interaction that made the world go insane? This was not purchasable either. This was also in the gacha. Actually, scratch that. You couldn't even get lucky and pull it from the gacha. it was only in the exchange shop, meaning that even if you didn't care for Kukai skin, you would have had to pull a lot to get enough mileage tokens to get Macchiato's interaction. I'm sure at least some of you are thinking, wait, but I have the skin right now and I have the interaction unlocked for free. You would be correct, because this was a change they made after everyone flipped their shit. The skin and interaction were originally separated. From what I witnessed, this was actually the thing people were most angry about, because many players on the Chinese servers bought the skin with the express purpose of having that interaction unlocked as soon as the crew deck came out. Those players were actually contemplating if this would be considered false advertisement and if they could sue Mika for it. They even looked into Japanese laws and realized that this would actually be illegal to release in Japan, as they have expressed law stating that gacha systems must release a digital product in a functional state. So if a player pulled on the skin gacha and got the Macchiato interaction, but not the skin, you actually got a useless product until you bought the skin. But what was most concerning to people was the uncertainty. I need to stress that this was basically dropped into the game with no prior announcement whatsoever. So what does this mean going forward? Given how much of a dumpster fire Girls Online 1 skin gacha was, were we going to go back to that? Were all skins going forward going to be stuffed in the gacha? Did they just abandon making skins directly purchasable? Why ruin a good thing? Where was this sudden greed coming from, and why hide it? This was enough for the Chinese player base to start up a boycott. The top 100 platoons in China all made a pledge to stand in solidarity. Not only were these platoons mostly whales, but they wrote a document of what were effectively demands to Mika. And should there be no response from the company, they will cease all spending and do a complete blackout of all Ghost Online 2 content. And here's where global players come into play. For those of you who don't know, Ghost Online 2 is one of those rare Chinese games where the majority of revenue comes from global. There's a reason why Mika made the MOA mascot and suddenly began to put a lot more production value in their stuff for the global scene compared to China. So the Korean audience were actually in agreement with China, and they also pledged to do the same demands. And over in the West, I actually brought up the idea to join the boycott, and this got enough circulation that the Chinese player base took notice. So they communicated with us and added us to the pledge. Now you know why I know so much about this. As for Japan, they did not join the pledge. From what I know, the Japanese player base actually isn't big for Ghost Online 2 in the first place, and they are generally more tolerant on how predatory gacha games are anyway. But this was enough to get Mika to respond in the Chinese forums. Translated, they more or less stated they were definitely getting feedback over this, and pulled out an FAQ. To rapid fire through this, they clarified that they were not planning on putting every skin in the gacha, and some skin interactions will be provided for free in the future, which, as a side note, they did fulfill that promise with Helen's interaction. But the most controversial thing they clarified was any new skins added to the gacha would be on their own separate banner, and the hard pity would not be carried over. Many players believe, with so little free pulls available throughout the year, that this was overall a big negative. But more importantly, they did not address the Macchiato interaction being locked behind the exchange shop. So at this point, everyone was just flinging shit at Mika Team. This got so bad that they quickly sent a notice to all players in-game that they would be inviting players to their office to have what they would call a feedback session on the crew deck. For those who don't want to meet in person, they had a specific form attached to provide feedback as well. And they even said to contact them directly through email or official customer service channels. And then they released another email asking everyone to not contact staff members privately and to please calm down. They even left a note asking for any English players to please use the global feedback instead of the Chinese ones. And finally, they had to delay their next dev livestream for a week to account for the offline meeting. So let's take a bit to focus on how that meeting went. The way how it worked was 20 players would be selected, seemingly at random, to come to the office. It was very likely that none of the people who were in the pledge would be selected. So what happened instead was these players would actually steal people's spots just so they could get into the meeting. This was, of course, very questionable. But it did lead to results that were very good for us, especially on global. Because it was actually this meeting that let Mickey Team know that the global players was highly concerned about their lack of communication, especially since this was around the time they started suddenly accelerating events in an effort to synchronize all regions. So they released a very long dev note explaining their plans. And since then, they have been much more open with us. They even let us know that Global will be getting the revised, less predatory version of the skin gacha. And here are the changes. Macchiao's interaction was freed from the exchange shop and all players got it for free. The skin gacha now provided enhancement materials. A soft payday was added to ensure that you would get those enhancement materials while pulling from the skin. Non-feature skins would have a direct purchase option. And finally, furniture tokens would be more easily accessible and the price of buying furniture would be significantly less. Not exactly part of the skin gacha, but important since this was also being monetized. So yeah, what happened here actually mattered. It matters so much that on the global live stream that announced the crew deck, they straight up tell us that there will be, in fact, a skin gacha added. And they explained that they would be releasing pull tickets for free to help players obtain the skin. So they did the exact opposite of what they did for the Chinese release because they didn't want to get their shit wrecked again. So while I didn't give out every single detail about this fiasco, I think you get the point. This mattered. This made changes. Yes, it didn't get rid of the gacha skin, but everyone with a functioning brain would have told you that wasn't the goal. The goal was to get Mika Team to not be sneaky little bitches and have them be upfront with us. And it was purely because of this, we on Global have a more communicative relationship with the team. They are now fully aware that we pay attention to what they do. You'd think they would have learned from delaying their Doritos for so long, but better late than never. Before I close out, I do want to address the aspect of players quitting. In the past, I brought up my own gripes about Ghost Line 2. Long story short, I only played Ghost Line 2 for two reasons: the story and the community. Especially when it comes to my own community. I even run a platoon now, and it motivates me to actually try in Gunsmoke Frontline. But besides those reasons, I stated the game needs a lot, and I mean a lot, of work to be a genuinely good gacha game. And now that I've been playing the hell out of Kiazu Nightmare with no sign of stopping, I just sort of remember how it feels to be addicted to playing a game, and I realized Ghost Line 2 just never gave me that feeling whatsoever, even at the beginning. All this to say is completely understandable that a large portion of the Ghost Line 2 community is simply tolerating the game and not actually having fun right now. And the skin gacha for some people just made them run out of tolerance, because to them this is more than just the devs doing some predatory practice. It's a sign that things wouldn't be getting better. And I really want people to understand that thought process. I've done a couple of pulse checks before, and I personally don't know anyone in the Ghost Line 2 community who wholeheartedly enjoys the game right now. There are just aspects that keep them going. I mean, literally just a couple of days ago, another content creator I followed dropped Ghost Line 2 because they no longer trust Mika to handle the game well. I've seen people feel completely burned out of the long stretch of filler patches and drop the game entirely because of that. I've seen Ghost Line 1 veterans who were sticking it out hoping for the magic to come back just to admit to themselves that the wait wasn't worth it. But here's the thing. I don't believe for a second that Ghost Line 2 is going to fail. In fact, I have every hope that the game will thrive in the near future. The more I play live service games, the more I understand that the beginnings are always turbulent because companies want to make money, and the passion tends to take a back seat. It's only after management or investors or executives stop breathing down the dev's neck that the passion is allowed to get into the driver's seat. So based on my experience on the Chinese version, I think we've reached that point where passion is starting to take hold. I don't think Mika will ever be able to revitalize the Chinese player purchase numbers. They screwed that up twice. But they still announced new game modes, a desire to revitalize Platoon content, and revamping the shallow gameplay. So for me, this is good enough to look forward to the future. Anyway, I yapped for too long. In summary, do your goddamn research before posting a video.